it's got implications from birth onwards, which we feel in the schools as well.
I'm sure the majority of the matrics writing their finals have got aspirations to then get a tertiary education. I'm sure a lot of the job of teachers is to manage their expectations, I guess, because I mean that's another problem. We have a huge problem with the amount of students that can get accepted and taken into universities. How do you manage those expectations? I mean, not everybody with a matric exemption is guaranteed to then continue their studies.
No, I think also what we need to do is get away from this idea that every single person who finishes matric has to go to university. There are other options too. And we have some very much needed skills in vocational areas, artisans for example. On the West Coast, in the next few years, we're going to need 18,000 artisans in the oil and gas industry, where we're having huge investment. So I don't think it's really the teachers' jobs to manage expectations. They have a lot of other responsibilities. Okay. But I mean, we as government are trying to see how we can align all our different departments to create more opportunities for the youth and align their skills, ensure that the skills that they get in schools and are able to be used appropriately after school, connect them with opportunities in business, in jobs, in training, and so on and so forth. And we've got a lot of different kinds of skills. We have skills schools and technical schools, and I think a lot of problem has been in the technical skills have been stigmatized almost. So people think, well, if you go to a technical school, you aren't clever enough, so kind of thing. And I'm trying very hard to destigmatize that, because it's not the case. It's a different set of skills, and they're very much needed skills in our economy. So I've this year, in fact, added some awards related to those skills in our end-of-year awards for Best Technical School, for CAT and IT, and some technical subjects as well, in an attempt to try and do that. But we need to encourage people to look and also be entrepreneurial. I went last night to a teen entrepreneur workshop. They're starting teen entrepreneur societies. They're wanting to start those in high schools. I think that's an excellent idea. We can't do it in the main curriculum, but if we can expose our learners to more opportunities and to ways of thinking differently, so that they can, first of all, not think they must get a job. They can also create jobs, and they can at least look after themselves and their families. So we really need to look broader than just this straightforward finish school, go to university thing. There are obviously opportunities to do that too, and that's also needed, but it's not the only thing.
Okay. Debbie, final question. Government schooling, private schooling, and homeschooling. Pros and cons of each.
Goodness. Whether it's a government school or a private school, I think is, for me, what I've seen in my few months in office is if there's a good principal and they're good teachers, it doesn't actually matter if they're private or not. If they're good committed teachers and a principal who leads and takes charge, then we have some excellent government schools where that is the case. You can have a private school, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's better than, very often private schools charge a lot of money, and I don't believe that they all justify that when you look at some of our good government schools. But the crucial difference is that they aren't governed by the unions, that they are able to hold their teachers to performance levels, and they're not governed by the same rules that we are. Very often they stay open a lot longer and so on, but it generally relates to the labour conditions of the teachers. So yes, we have some excellent private schools, we have some excellent public schools. But I suppose the difference with private as well is that people have more say. If they're not happy, then the schools won't attract learners, and then they won't make money. So it's market forces, whereas we have to provide for everybody. And that is sometimes difficult when people can't afford to pay, but you still want to provide the service that they should have. Private homeschooling, well, I suppose it also depends really on what curriculum you do. You've got to make sure that the curriculum is aligned to, well, it's got to be registered with us first of all, so we can at least see. Well, I don't think it has to be registered, but we need to be sure that what they're doing is good quality education. And that's where sometimes it's difficult, because parents don't want us to really. Sometimes they get a bit upset if the department wants to get involved. But it can work. I mean, I know a number of people who have homeschooled and their children are doing very well. They've gone on to do, tertiary education, and they've managed fine. I think it again depends on the quality of the teaching and the learning, really.